I want to start off this video by saying that this comic is not as bad as Civil War. But the failings of this comic are much more in its execution than anything else. And rather than going into an in depth analysis of the plot or anything else, I decided to, take a look at what this comic had as a premise and where it went wrong. If you really want to know what the plot is, it can basically be summarized as the Skrulls invade Earth in a somewhat secret, air quotes, you can't see my air quotes, invasion, and the combined forces of Earth, the Avengers, the Thunderbolts, the Hood's criminal empire, etc., unite to stop them. That's basically the plot you're getting from me. I have basically managed to conclude that the failings of this comic can be traced back to two things. One, the faults of the writer Brian Michael Bendis, who I've already talked about in two previous videos, go check them out. And of course, the failings of Event Comics as a whole. First of all, for those of you who don't know, what is an event comic? It'll generally have a mini-series and a bunch of tie-ins to other comics. And these are the problems with event comics in general. I'll swing back to the tie-in and event comic thing and how it relates to Secret Invasion, but now I want to focus on the problems with Brian Michael Bendis' writing. You see, Brian Michael Bendis is a master of the decompressed comic, or writing for the trade. And let's just talk about Secret Invasion's first issue, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So, in the first issue, Iron Man discovers that the Skrull has infiltrated the Earth, and the Skrull, realizing that their plans are compromised, begin to take out several key locations and teams, compromise Stark Tech completely, and trap both Avengers teams, the pro and anti-registration side, go watch my Civil War video, in the Savage Land. They also take out Reed Richards when they realize that he has found a way to discover them, and they invade in full force. Now, all of this sounds pretty cool, but the problem here is all of this happens in the first issue. The second, third, and fourth issues basically are filler. The Avengers, both teams, are stuck in the Savage Land till the fifth issue in an 8-issue miniseries, and the final 3 issues are basically a fight scene. In a comic called Secret Invasion, your comic ends with a major fight scene. Now, I'm not exactly trying to pin anything on Bendis' style. His style has worked when done correctly. But in case of Secret Invasion, there's no denying that it fails. Even me, having read this in a trade, I felt like there were lots of times where the plot was just padding itself out, and you shouldn't be feeling that in an event comic. Returning to the problem of tie-ins and event comics, let me list off a couple of problems here. Where do Nick Fury and the Secret Warriors come from? Go read the tie-ins. How did the Skrulls manage to get so many agents onto Earth? Go read the tie-ins. How did Maria Hill know how to put LMDs in her place? And when did Nick Fury tell her this? Go read the tie-ins. What happens to the Skrulls' idea of unleashing the Void instead of the Sentry? Go read the tie-ins. More importantly, how is the Skrull Queen able to survive an arrow into the head and getting sliced by Wolverine? And why, when Osborn manages to shoot her in the head, get him the main job that Tony Stark once held? Go read Thunderbolts and Deadpool to find out. When I first read the wiki entry for Secret Invasion, I was thrilled. And when I read the first issue of this trade, I was also thrilled. I really thought that there was some good comics in there. But the execution was so bad. Like, the Avengers, they were stuck for 5 issues in the Savage Land. Like, nothing happened. And the Skrulls, in the end, they were taken out so easily. And their whole thing, yeah, outside of their shapeshifting, they seem to have nothing else going for them. Oh, yeah, as a final means for the writer to create some emotional impact, they kill off Janet Van Dyne the Wasp. Don't worry, she gets better. Well, now that I've thoroughly established that I hate Marvel, I should do something about that. Next week, let's look at the 2015 Secret Wars, a much better event comic than this.